Hello and welcome to Gank
Get
That
that
Drink,
drink.
a supernatural drinking game podcast. It's a podcast where we make up drinking game rules for a favorite episode of our favorite show, Supernatural. We recap the episode and tell you how those rules played out. But stick around for the end because we're not only going to let you know how the game played and how many times the rules hit, we're going to let you know what rules and what episodes are coming up next. But who are we? I'm Krissy Lenz, director of the Neighborhood Comedy Theater in downtown Mesa, Arizona. And with me, as always, is
Nate McWhorter, guy who just spilled his drink.
Oh, is that what happened?
That's what just happened in the background. Was I just spilled my drink?
No.
Not on the computer or
Oh,
anything. That
no.
was the good part. That's why I'm still here. But man, and then like saved it, but then it started like I got all fizzy and overflowed, and I was like on the carpet. Oh, what a start to an episode. Oh my gosh.
Do you need to take a second?
No, we're good. We're good. I mean, I was
Okay.
a little annoyed,
Okay.
but then I thought I'm just going to turn this into a little bit of a bit. But boy, did this one just literally blow up in my face a little.
Oh, no. Oh.
That's fine. We're all good over here. And I'm also from the Neighborhood Comedy Theater. I'm not just a guy who spills things. But yeah, so
You're so much more than just a guy who spills things.
some days that's all I feel like, though, is just a guy who spills things, which is fine as long as that's all. But we're playing some drinking game rules with Supernatural, right? That's what we're doing here. That's the thing.
That's what we're doing.
Okay.
And today is an episode that you selected.
Yes.
Today Nate is up with a favorite episode of both of ours.
An episode we mashed up at a Phoenix, or Phoenix as some people call it. Fan Fusion Fest thing, whatever it's called. And it was, yes, it's one of my favorites. Obviously, my last episode was the episode chronologically or episodically before this, Slumber Party, because we are doing season 9, episode 5, Dog Dean Afternoon. And Yay. I believe when we mashed these episodes up, we did them the same year, correct? We just went ahead and did them back to back. Yeah. So
back to back.
Yeah, it was meant to be. I feel like if you were to maybe show a random person two, like, consecutive episodes of Supernatural, these two would be like great choices. I think because they're like almost pure monster of the week, each of them, but with like just enough of a tease of like a cool story arc that it makes you interested in doing. Because I believe, if I recall, when we did these as mashups, I had not yet finished or watched Supernatural, like either at all or all the way through, and so they were both like, I watched them out of context for the very first time, and like it again, like there's a lot of good stuff that goes into. But anyway, I digress a little bit to say, we're doing season 9, episode 5, Dog Dean Afternoon.
Dog Dean Afternoon. What rules are we playing as we recap this episode?
All right, the rules we're playing as we recap this episode are: someone or something dies, we're taking a drink.
Yep.
Anytime the boys have a wrong guess about what our bad is, we're taking a drink. Anytime someone says the acronym... Oh, wait, yes?
No.
Oh, yes. I thought you had said something. Yes. Anytime someone says the acronym S.N.A.R.T, we're taking a drink. Anytime the prefix douche is used, we're taking a drink. Yeah, I mean, it's only used in 2 different ways, but and then vague Zeke talk, we're taking a drink. Dean does dog things, we're drinking.
Okay.
Puns, I wrote sips, but I think you could get away with drinks, maybe. I think there weren't as many puns as I was thinking.
Unless I missed a lot.
Yeah, yeah, we'll get to counts later, but I thought there were going to be a lot more than there were, or at least like as I watched it the first time, was like, oh man, there's a lot of puns in this episode, and then upon rewatch, maybe not as much. And then we have two shots. That is for freedom, freedom, and for Zeke.
Yep.
Those are our shots. So that is our rules recap, or at least our rules precap.
Precap. All right, I can't wait to hop into Dog Dean Afternoon. Let's do it.
Then the is all basically about like it starts out with, at least with like the whole Dean and Zeke needing to save Sam's life post trials, yes, and
Yes.
like Sam literally can't live without, like Dean's like is like praying and is like, anyone out there. Anyway, Zeke shows up. We did this all in Slumber Party basically, because then we get to see Slumber Party and we get to see Zeke bringing Charlie back to life. And then what I love about this, then I don't spend a whole lot of time on the then, but this one is pretty fun because it's literally been like our last, like, you know, kind of like a montage of the episodes we've recapped. There's changing channels in there. There's a bunch of yellow fever scenes in there.
Yeah.
So it's like it's like a fun kind of like recap of our favorite episodes, even
Our
in the event.
favorites.
Yeah. So
It's reppin' Gank that drank.
that's right. And yeah, so even in I don't know if we mentioned, but this is November 5th, 2013 is when this episode is airing. So to put everyone in context of where we are, because then we go whoosh, now. We see a taxidermist in one of my favorite supernatural X-Files sort of tropes, which is a room that is darker than it ever should be. Someone working with no lights on when they really should have a lot more lights on. Law and Order does this, I think, a little bit too. Just anyway, so the taxidermist, he's working on these beautiful
just people straining their eyes for no reason. You're just putting yourself through the ringer for no good reason. You're doing tiny little detailed work. Sure, you got the magnifying light with the glass, or the magnifying glass with the light, but come on, flip a switch.
But wouldn't you want a lot of light to see with?
Yeah,
I don't. So we see this taxidermist. He's working on some excellent Game of Thrones taxidermy, just quite excellent,
hilarious.
Which is the second Game of Thrones reference in a row that we get in back-to-back episodes, because they watch Game of Thrones.
The writers were watching Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, they were at the time. So we get the Game of Thrones rats. The taxidermist gets up because he hears a noise and he goes, and it's just a big bear that he's stuffed. Gets him every time. And he comes back and his dog is barking. He says, "What's going on, Colonel?" And he turns around and there's a snake man. And the snake man does a snake eyes and a snake tongue, and then he snake constricts him. Which
is like pretty gross. This is like kind really of a gross episode overall.
Yes.
Like the snake tongue is gross. The snapping of the man in half is gross, and it's just like a gross beginning to what's a pretty gross episode.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of kind of just moments you're like, ugh. I'll get to it later. There's a moment where I had to cover someone's eyes in the room. We
was it Sophie? Did you have to cover Sophie's eyes?
It was Sophie. I covered Sophie's eyes.
Sophie,
I was
the
like,
kitty.
Please don't watch. Please don't watch. She was sitting there in my lap, and I'm like, no. Because she watches. She literally just like stares at the TV. Anyway, I don't know if she comprehends, but that's our open. This man gets killed. So someone dies. We didn't know his name. And
someone dies. Take a drink.
Yay, someone dies. Take a drink. So we get the Supernatural logo, and we come to the boys in the bunker talking about Kevin and how he had too many slippery nipple shots at the Dolly Parton stampede or whatever in Branson. This is now the second, like, this is the continuation of the off-screen Kevin storyline being in Branson. which give me that like mini series, please. I just want
Yeah.
Kevin and Branson, the mini series. Just 4 episodes, an hour long each. Someone put it on CW Plus or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, I
Anyway,
would watch that.
I would watch it. I'd totally watch it. It'd be worth an afternoon. Um, so the boy Sam's like, I got a case. I'm ready to get out there. I slept like 8 hours, which is like 20 for a hunter. And Dean's like, are you sure? But he's like looking inside Sam because he's like, Zeke, what? So this, I counted that little exchange as like some vague
I
Zeke
counted that
talk.
too.
Okay.
Vague Zeke talk.
Yeah, vague Zeke talk. So we get going to Enid, Oklahoma after Sammy convinces Dean that it's a case they should take. And we walk into the taxidermist's place where there's all the things mounted and all the things stuffed. And it's weird to see Dean get freaked out by it, right? Like I've always thought that was
Yeah.
it's kind of an interesting reaction from Dean, who you would like. I think it'd be more of a Sammy thing to be like creeped out by the things,
Yeah.
right?
No,
But
Dean is
Sammy's just
definitely
like, yeah, I'm
skeeved
cool with
out.
it. Yeah, definitely skeeved out. The other, so they interviewed one of my favorite just bit characters I think in any Supernatural episode they've ever done, is this guy who's like the entrail collector. He collects all the
Yeah.
gross animal guts, right?
He is
Which you talk
gross.
about gross things in this episode. This whole conversation is kind of gross. This actor, whose name I can't obviously pull up, is the theme. He's just great, just absolutely selling this one scene amazingly. You'd think that he was gonna like come back in the episode. He does such a good job. But
Yeah.
he basically says like, normally I come to get guts, and there were no guts, and that's kind of like a weird thing. So I think the boys, they give off a couple guesses, wrong guesses, like in this scene, or at least one, because they're like, it's not a witch. We look for hex bags or
Yeah, there's no
whatever.
hex bags.
So we get the they've done the interview. They go back, got to try to figure out something that can crush a human, and that's yeah. So
Fold it in
we
half. Fold a
fold it
person in half.
in half. Yes. But like maybe we'll see if
Snap
Kevin
it
can
in
come up with
twain.
something. Yeah. And there were no guts. I just love that. Like normally there's just nothing there. So obviously something happened to them. Also, the agent names are Michaels and DeVille, which is a reference to Bret Michaels and
Poison?
CC. Yep, Poison. Yeah. So love that as well. Always love good agent names, good classic. So many classic rock jokes in this episode as
It's
well.
true.
Yeah, it's quite good. One thing that the boys saw on the way into the taxidermist, though, was written in red paint on the window. It said "Die Scum," and there was a logo like imprinted in the logo or in the graffiti, and they go look it up, and it belongs to this organization that is basically the PETA of Enid, Oklahoma, that they say, and it's called
Yeah.
S.N.A.R.T, which is why one of our rules
S.N.A.R.T.
is S.N.A.R.T. And so they go check out these S.N.A.R.T people who own a vegan bakery. Now there is some vegan bakery slander in this episode.
Yeah, so Dean is not on board for veganism or vegan bakeries.
No. I will say a vegan bakery in Enid, Oklahoma actually sounds kind of like a little. I didn't look up exactly where Enid is, and I don't recall, but I there's a couple wonderful vegan bakeries that I know about, and like they're really good and have some of the best actual just baked goods overall I've ever had. So yeah, shout out to the donut place on Guad. Yeah,
I like a vegan bakery because generally they'll have some gluten-free stuff too.
Yes, they usually do gluten free, and those are not as good of products, like because wheat's still a thing that isn't vegan or is vegan, but you can anyway.
Yeah.
but there's decent gluten-free stuff out there. Decent.
Yeah, but usually you get a lot of crossover with the vegans because it's like, oh, well, people with,
Right.
specified eating habits are coming here. We might as well try and check as
Exactly.
many specified eating boxes as we can.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they and again, some of the stuff is actually quite good. And Dean is just like not even entertaining the idea that it could be good at all. It's not like the beer episode where he's like, "Oh, craft beer, blah blah blah," and then drinks it and is like, "This is pretty good." He just doesn't even give it a shot. So
Nope.
the writers are really taking shots at vegan bakeries here, and we find out because these douchebags are wearing sunglasses inside that these people who tagged the taxidermist that night, they actually encountered the snake man in the alley, and he got him with some venom. So now the boys are
Yep.
like,
But
"What?"
they
And
just
this,
think they got maced.
right? They have, yeah, they think they got maced, and they're like, "Now we look like douchebags." Uh, so I think that one scene, that word is said like 3 times at least. Yeah. Uh, and so the boys are like, all right, well, it's not these people because they saw the killer, and now what do we do? Like, some snakes are venomous, some snakes can, or not, like snakes who are venomous can't constrict, and snakes who constrict are not venomous. There's no snake that does both. What are we looking for? Big ass mega snake monster or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, fun guesses get tossed out in that one, and then we get to the animal shelter. So we go away from the boys as they're trying to like figure out what this big snake thing is. And we get to the animal shelter late at night. There's some guy on his phone at the desk, and he lets our snake man in for a 20 or a hundo. It's actually, they do a close up, it's 100. And lets
Yeah.
him in. He's like, "You're early." He goes back, and the man on his way back sees Colonel, who will end up being like our awesome dog character, and then he starts like putting cats in a bag, and he chows down on one, and that's where I had to cover Sophie's eyes.
Yeah. You
As
don't want
the cats
Sophie
start
Kitty seeing a
meowing,
kitty.
yeah, he starts like walking, like he as soon as he starts walking to the back, I'm like, oh no, I know what's about to happen, Sophie, and I'm just like, cover her. I'm like, please don't watch this. Yeah,
Because he just
so
like unhinges his jaw and puts a cat down it. It's
yeah,
so
because he's
gross.
still got them snake powers. That's what's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I gotta say, like the whole, I love the premise behind this bat. I just love that like idea. The like, oh, you are what you eat. If you mix it with the right hoodoo and spices, it's turns you into these things or gives you the attributes of these things. I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's a really cool like concept overall. So, oh, I put my notes down. What happened? I'm all over the place. All right. We were at the shelter. Cats get eaten. Now the boys get called to this, or they don't get called. No one calls them. They go to this, and they discover that this guy was scratched because, oh yeah, the guy, the front guy kid comes in and is like, "What are you doing?" And the man turns into a cat man and scratches him
Yeah.
up and kills him. So we now have someone else who's died. Also, the cat died. So we have 2 deaths in
Oh, I
this
didn't count the cat.
scene. Yeah, I counted. I changed it to someone or something, only to get another one in there for the cat. Rest in peace, kitty cat. Um,
Rest in peace,
and
kitty kitty.
oh gosh, it was so hard. It's still so hard to watch sometimes. So the boys, as they're at the shelter, they realize that this dog Colonel has now witnessed both murders, and they realize this because the uh, sheriff's deputy or whatever wearing his hat like triggers the dog, and they're like, "Oh, this dog, he's probably see." So they call Kevin up and they say, "Kevin, how could we talk to dogs?" Kevin finds an Inuit spell and a potion to drink so that you can mind meld with an animal, and that's what the boys do. They, by the way, they took Colonel. They adopted him, I guess. They like just
I
went
think
ahead and
so.
I guess just
They
adopted the
they
dog.
paid the fifty
Um,
dollars and got a license.
yeah, yeah. So they take Colonel home, and Dean does the thing, and it doesn't work at first, and then they're sitting around, and after a bit, all of a sudden he can hear the dog, and the dog I thought was Jonathan Banks, but it's not. It's someone else, and it is. He starts talking
Well,
crap
first,
about sticks. Oh yeah,
yeah, first Dean is playing fetch
yes.
with
Dean
Sammy.
starts playing fetch with Sam. Like Sam throws like some trash and misses the basket, and then Dean gets it, and uh, Sam is like, "Dude, what are you doing?"
So that's Dean
And
does
then
dog things.
yes, Dean does dog things. And then he's like scratching his behind his ears, and then he's barking at the mailman. So that whole scene has like a bunch of Dean does dog things going on in
I
it.
love when he's
And
barking
now
at the mailman because he's not just barking the whole time. He's going, you, you,
you, you,
you,
you,
you.
and they don't have us. That's funny because they go to the dog barking and not to they go to it from Sammy's perspective and not from Dee's. So you don't hear what Colonel is saying to the mailman. They
Yeah.
just have him barking. Oh man, that's a bummer. They should have had that, but that's the whole secret of the episode, right?
Yeah.
That they don't give away at the end. So yes, we're now into the fun part of the episode where Dean is doing dog things, and so now that Dean can hear dogs, it's time to go back to the shelter and talk to all these other witnesses, which is where we get, in my opinion, the best scene in the entire episode, which you lead off with old lady dog. I'm pedigreed. I shouldn't be here, I'm 14. And then you get to the dog that's like, they wash the cages only once a day.
Once a day.
Shaking the fence here, boss. Shaking the fence. And then I need a Raquel Welch poster and a rock hammer.
Yeah. I love that these
Man.
dogs have seen so many prison movies.
Yeah, it's really great. Just so many awesome lines in there. But then we get to the dog voiced by Leslie Jordan, and he's
I want a belly
delightful.
rub.
From the tall one, the big one.
Yeah.
Oh
He
man,
stopped
and then
scritching.
and it's so perfect. Just everything from start to finish with that dog is great. But we learned from this dog that the man who came and ate the cat, took the cats and ate the one cat and killed the kid, he was wearing a uniform that said avant-garde cuisine. You're lucky I read French. And earlier, Colonel had said that the man smelled like, he didn't get a good look at him, but he smelled like dish soap and red meat and tiger balm. So we're putting together clues. And avant-garde cuisine apparently is a restaurant downtown. No dogs allowed, according to Colonel. And so we head to the restaurant, which is closed on a Monday.
Of course.
What kind of place?
Who can afford to be closed on a Monday in this
Who
economy?
can afford in these times? Yeah. So we get to the restaurant, not after, of course, like the dog say, that's the best belly rub I've ever had. Oh, man. So we get to the restaurant, we get down there, and of course everything's closed, and it's another room that's like just dimly lit with a man sort of like cooking, prepping what appears to be, what we end up seeing is like the sharktopus meal. A shark fin,
like
and there was like
shark fin and octopus
entrails.
tentacles.
Yeah, tentacles in there, and whatever spices he was cooking up was probably for the hoodoo or shamanism, as we learned.
Mm-hmm.
So the boys are digging around, and this is where we get the great wonderful scene with the mice, like, help, please help
Help us, save us, we have collapsible spines.
Yes, and they look in the fridge behind you. And the boys realize together what our bad is up to. He's eating animal parts to give himself attributes and combining them with like spells and stuff to give himself attributes. What they don't know still is like why. And so they gotta try to find out. Well, they come across the like sous chef and the guy serving the shark, and they're like, "We're from the health department. Get out of here. We're closed. You're closed down. We'll let you know." And then our bad chef Leo, he gets a jump on Sam because he ate chameleon apparently recently and blended
And
into the wall
slashes his
and
neck so badly.
Oh, props department, wonderful job with the blood and everything. Like I was pretty gruesome on that one.
It was.
And he's bleeding out from the neck, and then we take a shot because Zeke saves Sam, saves himself,
saves Sammy.
Saves Sammy, and he then Sammy's like, "What the heck? Huh? How? What? Huh?" And then Chef Leo's like, "Oh, I gotta have you, whatever you are, because I really need that ability to cure myself." And punch, one shot, Sammy's out. Probably because this guy's got like bear strength or whatever. Like the best part about this villain is you can just explain any silly thing he does with like, "Oh yeah, he ate that animal, or he ate this animal, or whatever."
Chameleon and bear was his combo for the day.
What a combo. So then as like Sam's laying there and the chef's cooking things up, well then Dean comes around and he's got the gun on him, and the chef Leo smells dog, and he turns around, that smell's coming from you. And sure enough, this guy ate something fast because he can dodge a bullet, and Dean dodges the cleaver, but it can't dodge the guy who comes up on him real quick and ties him, knocks whatever. He gets Dean tied up. Dean gets tied up
by one cord.
One cord, just a cord from some appliance. Just yeah. and yeah, so then that's where we learn, because Dean now, as he wakes, he can like smell this guy is sick, basically, because he's still a dog. And
they found all his pills. They found a drawer full of
pills. They found a bunch of pills, and then Dean's like, "You're sick." The one thing I did not cover was we have the moment where Dean realizes that like he's becoming a dog, and he's like scared because he's like, "How long will this last? We don't know." He can't eat chocolate, which his face is so good when he realizes he can't eat the chocolate. That was several scenes ago. Anyway, back to this scene where Dean is trying to just keep talking so that he can get free. And that's kind of eventually what he does, because the man's like, "Yes, I basically am trying to heal myself, and so now I'm going to eat this wolf heart to take you out."
Wolf versus dog.
I eat your brother. Yeah, wolf versus dog. And so Dean manages to cut the cord on the corner of the post. Like this villain is not good at being a villain. Ultimately,
no.
The boys win because this guy's bad at being bad. And it's kind of what he even admits. He's like, I didn't start out like this, but eventually I just kind of had to kill some people to get the things I needed. So here we are. Very just casual baddie on this episode. Yeah. And Dean escapes and runs outside, and the guy's like, "Wolf trumps dog," and Dean says, "But not a pack of them, and it's all our friends from the shelter, who apparently were so ravenous that they kill the man." So we get another death. Chef Leo, take 2 drinks because we knew his name.
Yep, it happens off screen though, so I think at first I didn't realize they were killing him. All those sweet little doggies.
Yeah, you just get like a hand that falls. Like, of all the gross things in this episode, the guy like trying to eat heart and everything, like they don't show that anyway. It's probably too expensive.
I was glad they didn't. Yeah. I didn't want to see that sweet little Leslie Jordan dog murdering.
Just bloodied up and face covered, and and then we get the BM scene, basically. After Dean goes back in, he makes sure he's actually like, I actually counted this a little, I think, as vague Zeke talk, where he's like, where he actually like directly says Zeke.
I did, yeah.
Whoever you are, yeah, okay. So and he's like, "Just wake up, damn it, I'm not gonna lick your face." And then And then before the BM scene, actually, we get to take Colonel to his new owners, which are the douchebag vegan bakery
Vegans.
owners, the S.N.A.R.T people, and they you get the fun conversation between Dean and Colonel at the end, where of course, right as Colonel's about to like reveal the secret of all dogdom, he just goes back to
Loses the
not being able to
ability.
understand him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so great. And then we get the BM scene at the end where Sammy's like, I seriously don't know what happened and what did he mean when he said that
What
if
am
I could
I?
heal like that, what's going on? And Dean's answer is literally just nothing. He says nothing. He's just like, well, maybe
That guy was crazy.
just guy was crazy. Just don't think about it. Just don't think about it.
Don't worry your pretty little head about it, Sammy.
Because of course, like there is like the whatever the line where he's like, you never know what could take over from the inside or something that basically is like an allusion to Zeke as well, like what's going on there. So yeah, and they drive away in baby, and that's Dog
Dog
Dean
Dean
afternoon.
afternoon. Great job. I love it.
It's such a great episode. I love it so much.
How did our rules play out?
All right. Someone dies or something dies. My guess is you had 3 and I have 4.
I have 4.
Okay, 4. I have 4 as well.
Okay.
So, but you weren't counting. Is that counting our villain at the end?
No, I'm counting. Let's see. Who am I counting? I'm counting the taxidermy guy, the kid at the
shelter
shop,
guy.
The guy at the end, and I guess I probably added one for the cat when you said you counted the cat.
Oh, the cat. Yes. Okay, those are the 4 I got. Okay, I didn't know if you were adding as we were talking to or not.
Yeah.
All right. Wrong guesses. How many wrong guesses did you count?
I got 3 wrong guesses.
I counted 4, but I think I was like, there's like one that I kind of maybe was a little generous on where they just kind of threw something out.
Okay.
Yeah. I think there's one where I was like, why not? S.N.A.R.T was said 4 times.
Oh, I only got 2. I must have missed them.
Oh. There were 2, like, I think real close back to back, or like the 2 of them say, I think there was like a couple real close. Douche blank dot like prefix douche bag or wheel.
I got 3.
I have 6.
Oh, wow. I really missed a lot.
Well, I missed a lot my first time around. It's the scene with the pigeon. The pigeon says it like 3 times, and Dean says it twice, and the pigeon says it once, like, or twice. Like it happens like a bunch in that scene.
I missed those.
So yeah, I mean, you have the ones in the bakery, and then you have that. So, yeah. How many did you get for vague Zeke talk?
3.
I got 4.
Okay.
And again, I think there was one where I was like, I'm just gonna count that. And then Dean does dog thing.
I got 7.
I have 6.
Okay.
And I probably missed one later in the episode, I'm pretty sure, because I kind of was like eating dinner too.
Yeah.
How many puns did you count?
3?
I counted 7.
Oh, I missed a lot.
And I think, or I counted some things maybe weren't exactly puns. I think maybe it's probably closer to 5 that I counted, like actual true puns. Like I counted when the mouse at the end says like, "I'm as quiet as a mouse." Like,
oh, okay. I didn't count that
as a pun. Obviously, like the when Colonel is walking, when they first are walking with Colonel or whatever to the car, and he's like, we're gonna go dig for some clues. We gotta sniff it out. He has like 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously our shots were Freedom and Zeke.
And I got 1 Sammy.
Ooh, I actually counted 3 Sammys. Dean says it twice in a row, and then it said like I think once at the very end. He says it, yeah. But Dean definitely says Sammy like. Oh, it's actually Dean says it at the end when he's like coming to wake him up or like trying to like get him to come out. He's like
Yes.
Sammy.
I
And then I
was
think it happens like
so
once near the end of the
emotionally
episode or
invested at that part. I missed it.
Yeah. So this is anything else you want to add on the episode?
Nope,
that we
I
didn't
loved
get
it.
to?
Stick around after we tell you what's coming in the next episode and what the rules are for the next episode. Stick around, become a member, because we're going to talk about our lessons learned. We're going to talk about the lessons we learned for this episode of Dog Dean Afternoon of Supernatural. So, okay. What is up next? Well, I'll tell you. We're going to season 7, episode 8. Season 7, Time for a Wedding. Do you know this episode?
I don't know if I exactly do off the top of my head.
Okay, then I don't want to blow it for you. I want you to enjoy it when you watch it.
Okay.
But it's season 7, episode 8. Season 7, Time for a Wedding. It's I can't believe we waited this long to do it. It's a definite favorite of mine, and it features not only guest star DJ Qualls in his first appearance, but also guest star Leslie Odom Jr.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. So here are your rules. If Sam is referred to as Baby Bro, take a drink. Take a drink for a cake explosion. Take a drink if Sam gets spelly. Take a drink if someone dies. Drink twice if you know their name. And this is just because we did a slumber party so recently, but take a drink for an Oz reference. Take a drink for demon eyes. Take a drink when we're driving and obviously not baby. Take a drink when Garth does Garth. Take a drink whenever they say Gank. Take a drink for a BM scene, a boy melodrama scene. And take a drink for a Crowley monologue. So just based on the rules, obviously it's a great episode. Am I right?
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely you are right. Ah, heck yes.
It's gonna be a good one.
I'm trying to like literally pull up the wiki on it right now.
No, you gotta watch it first.
No. All right, I'll watch it. Oh, it aired on 11/11/2011.
Oh, well, that's a perfect day for a wedding. I'm sure there were lots of real weddings on that day.
I bet there were.
Okay, so that's fun. Nate, where can people find us if they want to see us live on stage?
Oh, if you'd like to see us live on stage, you can go to nctphoenix.com and visit the Neighborhood Comedy Theater website for our shows and details and upcoming special events and workshops. But we do shows every Friday and Saturday night at 7:30 in downtown Mesa, Arizona.
Heck yes, we do. Also, please feel free to like, rate, review the podcast wherever you're listening. It really does help us quite a bit, especially if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. Give us a review and a rating. It means so very much to us. And if you've listened all the way this far to the end, maybe consider becoming a member. You kick us a few bucks every month. It helps us to pay for all of the things that we need to do to make this podcast happen. And it helps us to make improvements so that we can keep making the pod better for you. You can do that at truestory.fm. When you're out there in the world, saving people and hunting things, you know, the family business, be sure to keep the Gank That Drank motto in mind. Be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes.
Oh, I missed it.
That's okay.